On our 10th anniversary, my girlfriend proposed to her first love. Staring at the message on my phone, I couldn't bring myself to believe it. I had to go ask her in person. But by a cruel twist of fate, I overheard her conversation with a friend. "Sincere has been chasing you for 10 years. Now you're suddenly proposing to Ethan? Aren't you afraid of breaking his heart? If I don't make a move now, Ethan's family will marry him off to someone else. I can't miss my chance. Besides, Sincere is a total doormat. If it weren't for his family's resources, I never would have stayed with him. I'll just give him a little attention later and he'll forgive me in a heartbeat." 10 years. I had asked her to marry me 99 times, and every time she'd refused for one reason or another. And now she was turning around to marry another man. I walked out, feeling empty, got into a taxi and made a call. "Dad, I'm ready to accept the marriage arrangement with the Davis family's youngest daughter." 1. Hearing my words, my father was silent for a long moment before letting out a soft sigh. "Son, you've been through too much these past few years." He didn't ask why I'd had a sudden change of heart. His voice was filled with nothing but sympathy for me. I hadn't felt a thing when I heard Scarlett Jones's cruel words. But now my eyes suddenly welled up. "It's okay, Dad. Everyone has to go through things to grow up." I forced myself to sound calm, but the tremor in my voice betrayed the storm raging inside me. 10 years together. Almost everyone who knew Scarlett and me believed we would end up together. But I never imagined that my decade of waiting would end with the news of her proposing to someone else. My 10 years of devotion had become a joke. "Son, you need to think this through. Marriage isn't a game. Once you're married, it'll be too late for regrets." Before I could speak, my father rushed to continue, as if worried I would back out. "Victoria Davis is a good girl, and your families are well matched. But you young people need time to build a connection. Marriage is a lifelong commitment." I was silent for a moment, then mumbled an affirmation and hung up. The scenery outside the window blurred and receded. For a fleeting moment, I wished it could keep going back. Back 10 years to the first time I met Scarlett. If I could do it all over again, I wouldn't waste so many years. Yesterday was our 10th anniversary. We had plans for dinner. I arrived early, having meticulously prepared a marriage proposal, but I waited until the restaurant closed and she never showed up. Instead, what I got was a photo announcement. Scarlett was in another man's arms, locked in a passionate kiss. It was sent by that guy, Ethan Miller. He also sent me a video. In it, Scarlett, wearing a wedding dress and holding a diamond ring and a bouquet, emotionally asked Ethan if he would marry her. The video wasn't fake. The love in her eyes was undeniably real. I desperately wanted to ask her, what did our 10 years mean? I had no idea how I would explain this to our friends and family. For 10 years, I had constantly bragged to everyone about my unshakable love with Scarlett. But in the end, I was the only one in this love story who turned out to be a complete fool. It was all just a game of manipulation to her. From her conversation with her friend, I learned that she had only loved me to use my family's resources to build her career. Now that her company was on solid ground, I was no longer useful. That's why she could propose to another man without a second thought. 2. When I got home, I planned to pack my things and prepare to leave. But as soon as I opened the door, I found Scarlett sitting calmly on the living room sofa. Seeing me, she strode over, a small gift bag in her hand. "Husband, you're back. I'm so sorry about yesterday. I was just so busy I couldn't make our date. Look, I even got you a gift." As she got closer, I caught the faint, acrid scent of tobacco on her, and it made my stomach turn. She always hated the smell of smoke, so she'd forced me to quit when we first got together. It seemed she was willing to lower her standards and change her principles for someone else, just not for me. In the past, if she had acted this cute and apologetic, I would have softened immediately and forgiven her without hesitation. But now, I just stared at her blankly, motionless. Scarlett's expression stiffened, but she patiently moved to hug me. I gently pushed her away. Ignoring her surprised gaze, I walked into the bedroom to continue packing. Scarlett followed, throwing the bedroom door open. "Are you serious? I already apologized. What more do you want?" Her eyes landed on the suitcase, and her brow furrowed. "What are you doing packing a suitcase?" I didn't say a word, just kept silently packing. A flicker of panic crossed her face. She seemed at a loss, and her tone became flustered. "Husband, what are you doing?" She closed my suitcase and stared straight into my eyes as if trying to read something there, but all she found was a dead calm. "It's nothing, just tidying up a bit," I answered evasively. "Really?" she asked, doubtful. "Yes." Scarlett breathed a sigh of relief, her suspicion gone. "You can just have the housekeeping service do this. Why are you doing it yourself?" I was bored. "Stop packing. I'll book a restaurant and we can go out for dinner later. We'll make up for our anniversary." She left without waiting for an answer. She was trying so hard, clearly worried I had figured something out. I showed no reaction, but a tiny, foolish part of me held onto a sliver of hope. Just as I put down my half-packed suitcase and was about to change, I saw her face flush with anxiety as she rushed toward the door. "Where are you going?" "Something urgent came up at the office," she said without turning back. "We'll have dinner another time." Before I could reply, the door slammed shut. She left in such a hurry. She even left her phone on the table. I walked over and glanced at the chat history on the screen, letting out a self-mocking laugh. That man Ethan said he wasn't feeling well. He asked if she could come keep him company. No wonder she was so worried. Letting go of my last hope, I quickly finished packing and left the place I had called home for 10 years. 3. I am the only son of the Smith family. From a young age, I was groomed to be the heir to the family business, and my parents poured all their love into me. Scarlett, on the other hand, was the daughter of our family's maid. My health was poor as a child, and my parents, worried something might happen to me, rarely let me leave the house except for school. As a result, I had almost no friends. One day I saw a group of kids playing ball outside our gate. A child's natural instinct made me open the villa door, wanting to join them, but I underestimated the cruelty of people. Because I looked frail as a child, the other boys made it a reason to mock me. They called me a girl and tried to pull off my clothes to check. I struggled, and they immediately started hitting and kicking me. At that critical moment, Scarlett appeared with a broom, chasing them away like a little tiger. "Stick with me from now on, and I'll protect you." She was boisterous and acted more like a boy. Our personalities were complete opposites. I was quiet and shy. After that day, we became friends. Every day, when the adults weren't around, she would sneak into my room to bring me snacks and play with me. Later, I even begged my father to use his connections to get us into the same class, from elementary school all the way through high school. In school, when other girls confessed their feelings to me, she would get so angry she wouldn't speak to me for days. I had to coax her for a long time before she'd cheer up. She never hid her feelings for me, and I started to develop an interest in this bubbly girl. I thought we would walk this path together, all the way to the wedding altar, until someone else appeared, and everything began to change. Ethan Miller was a transfer student. Like Scarlett, he came from a poor family with no powerful connections. My impression of him was that he was hardworking and had a sunny, cheerful personality. It seemed nothing could ever make him sad. At first, I had a decent impression of him. After all, a cheerful person who did well in school was always popular. He would even approach me to discuss schoolwork. But then I noticed he started spending more and more time with Scarlett, and in my conversations with her, Ethan's name came up with increasing frequency. Gradually, I felt like I was becoming the outsider. Whenever I tried to join their conversations, the atmosphere would inexplicably turn cold. It was as if they had a silent agreement to ignore me. I felt uneasy, but I didn't interfere too much. I believed that Scarlett would eventually realize who the better choice was. But one day, Sincere came to find me to discuss a problem, as usual. Scarlett wasn't there at the time, and I had no interest in talking to him. But to my surprise, he suddenly bumped into me, then fell to the floor, clutching his leg and wailing. I was confused until I saw Scarlett standing at the classroom door. Then it all made sense. "Sincere, what do you think you're doing?" She rushed over, helped Ethan up, and glared at me with hostility. "Sincere, I was so wrong about you. You just look down on us poor kids because you're a rich kid, don't you? Not everyone is as lucky as you, born with a silver spoon in your mouth." It was the first time she hadn't called me brother. She used my full name, all because of one person's arrival. Not long after that incident, she moved out of the Smith family home on her own accord. I guess she didn't want Ethan to get the wrong idea. I tried to get her to stay, but she left without a backward glance. Though heartbroken, I buried my feelings and threw myself into my studies. Ultimately, I got into a good university. I just never expected to run into Scarlett again on campus. She told me she had intentionally applied to the same university as me. She said she realized that the one she truly loved was still me. "Will you be my boyfriend? The things you can't have when you're young will haunt you for a lifetime." I was no exception, so I agreed with almost no hesitation. We became the couple everyone on campus envied. After graduation, Scarlett said she wanted to start a business but didn't want to waste my time, so she suggested we break up. I refused. Instead, I gave her the startup capital and used my family's resources to pull in projects and investors for her company. That's how her company achieved its current status. Later, her company flourished. Just when I thought everything was getting better, Ethan came back. After 10 years together, I didn't think she would abandon me. But what I saw with my own eyes and heard with my own ears would no longer allow me to deceive myself. Scarlett, since you don't love me, I'll let you go. 4. I dragged my suitcase and returned home alone. For Scarlett's sake, I had once had a major falling out with my family. My father despised a girl who had abandoned me once before. He always said Scarlett was deeply manipulative and warned me to stay away from her. But I was so head over heels in love with her back then, how could I have listened? When I pushed open the door, my father and my aunt were overjoyed to see me. "Cousin, you're back?" A graceful young woman threw herself into my arms. It was my aunt's daughter, Vivian Smith. I gently stroked her head and remarked, "You've grown so much." She swatted my hand away and stuck out her tongue. "What? Got dumped and now you're looking for an ego boost from me? I told you not to trust that woman, but you wouldn't listen. You've learned your lesson now, haven't you?" My Aunt Helen rushed over and pinched her ear. "If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Ow, ow, that hurts seeing this familiar warm scene." I finally started to relax. At the dinner table, my father put food in my bowl while reminding me, "You're about to marry into the Davis family. I happen to have a joint project with the Davis Group, so I'm putting you in charge. Go to the office tomorrow and get familiar with the details." "Okay." I nodded in agreement. Beside me, Vivian kept piling food onto my plate. "Here, eat more. You're built like a weakling, cousin." The next day, as soon as I arrived at the office, my assistant brought the Davis Group project proposal and related documents to my office. As I was reviewing the materials, I heard a commotion outside. "What's going on with this project? If we keep this partnership going, we're going to become a charity, even if Scarlett's boss is close with the young master. We can't keep losing money, can we?" Hearing this, I couldn't sit still. I opened the door and walked out. "What's the matter?" The speaker was the project manager. He looked troubled. "Mr. Smith, this partnership with Scarlett's company has no real profit margin. In some areas, we're even taking a loss. You see?" I picked up the file and finally understood. My father had been secretly subsidizing Scarlett's company all along. He was doing it to help me out. I took a deep breath and threw the file straight into the trash can. "All right, as of today, all cooperation with Scarlett's company is canceled. We are a business, not a charity. The company's interests come first. 5. The project manager was overjoyed and hurried off to give the orders. After a busy day, I decided to treat myself. I went to a newly opened barbecue restaurant downstairs. The moment I walked in, I saw 2 familiar figures. Cursing my bad luck under my breath, I was about to turn and leave when Ethan's surprised voice called out from behind me. "Sincere? What a coincidence, are you here to eat too?" I sighed, turned around, and met their gazes. My eyes lingered on Scarlett. She used to hate eating at these trendy, online famous places. She thought they were all for show and that the food was unsanitary. She didn't have the life of a princess, but she certainly had the attitude. Now, it seemed she didn't dislike them. It just depended on who she was with. Seeing me, Scarlett's expression froze for a second, and she quickly let go of Ethan's hand. "Dee, don't get the wrong idea. Ethan just got out of the hospital and wanted to eat something nice. He's not familiar with the area, so I came with him." Ethan, however, was very enthusiastic. He pulled out a chair and waved me over. "You haven't eaten yet, have you, Sincere? Why don't you join us?" Before I could answer, he had already asked the waiter to add a set of utensils for me. I hesitated for a moment, then smiled and sat down without ceremony. Scarlett diligently prepared a dipping sauce for me. But looking at the bowl full of chili peppers, I couldn't help but frown. I have a sensitive stomach and have never been able to handle anything too spicy or stimulating. "You still remember I love spicy food." "You're the best, Scarlett." Ethan playfully pinched Scarlett's nose. Scarlett blushed, looking proud. "Of course I remember everything you like." Ethan touched, pulled her into an embrace. Watching this scene unfold, I remained expressionless, feeling nothing but disgust. The tenderness Scarlett showed Ethan was something I had never experienced. Just then, Scarlett got up to go to the restroom. As I was slowly grilling some meat, Ethan suddenly spoke. "See that, Sincere? All I have to do is snap my fingers and Scarlett comes running. I'd advise you to give up sooner rather than later." I found it laughable. "What, is being the other man something to be proud of? You're saying it so loudly, aren't you embarrassed?" His face changed. Just as he was about to argue, a commotion erupted at a table behind us. 2 tables of drunk men, having taken a dislike to each other, started a physical fight. One of the men picked up a scorching hot charcoal grill from his table and hurled it in our direction. My first instinct was to dodge, but Ethan, who was next to me, suddenly grabbed me. I could only watch as the grill crashed into me. The searing charcoal instantly burned my skin, the intense pain nearly causing me to pass out on the spot. Seeing what happened, the other patrons, afraid of getting involved, fled in a panic. I pulled out my phone and, enduring the pain, called for an ambulance. "What happened?" Scarlett returned. Seeing us, her face paled and she rushed over. "Are you okay? Is it serious?" A flicker of warmth stirred in my heart. I was about to shake my head, but she ran right past me, grabbing Ethan's hand, which had a small burn, her face filled with distress. I couldn't help but laugh at myself. After all this, what was I still hoping for? I struggled to my feet. My body swayed, and I accidentally bumped into a nearby table, making a noise. Scarlett turned and saw my miserable state. Her expression turned a little awkward. Are you okay?" Before I could answer, she quickly started making excuses for her behavior. I was just so worried I didn't notice you for a moment, so..." I shook my head and gave a small, bitter laugh. The girl who once said she would love me forever, who swore to protect me, was finally dead in my memory. Seeing that I wasn't speaking, Scarlett changed the subject. "Why did you suddenly go home? You didn't even tell me. Are you all right? Should I take you to the hospital?" I shook my head. No need. His injury seems much more serious than mine. Hearing the sirens outside, I forced my body to move and walked out. Luckily, the wound wasn't deep, just a severe burn. After getting it treated, I called my father and told him I'd be staying somewhere else for a while. I didn't want him to worry or get angry on my behalf again. Once my injury had healed a bit, I headed to the Davis group to discuss the project details. As soon as I arrived, the receptionist seemed to recognize me and led me directly to an office. "Please wait here, Mr. Smith. Miss Davis is in a meeting. Make yourself comfortable." I picked up a teacup and started looking over the contract details on my own. "So, you're the one I'm supposed to marry?" "6, a cool, clear voice sounded from above me. I looked up to see a woman with a stunningly beautiful face but an exceptionally cold demeanor standing before me. "You're Victoria Davis?" "I am." She nodded, her attitude still detached. I frowned slightly but didn't dwell on it, simply handing her the contract. "Take a look at this. See if there are any issues that need to be addressed." To my surprise, Victoria took the contract and, without even looking at it, signed her name. I felt compelled to remind her. "Aren't you going to look at the details? There's no need." Her tone was flat, as if she were discussing something trivial. "We'll be family soon anyway. We'll rise and fall together. I trust you won't do anything to hurt us both." She had a point. After signing the contract, she added me on a messaging app to make it easier to discuss the wedding plans. "I'm free this afternoon. We should go get the marriage license." Standing outside the city hall, holding the red marriage certificate, I felt a sense of unreality. The one thing I had always longed for, I had obtained it just like that. Even though it wasn't with Scarlett, it still felt surreal. Checking the time, I took the initiative. "Do you want to go try on wedding dresses?" Victoria blinked, and a rare smile touched her cool features. "Okay, but I don't know if I had bad luck that day." But I ran into Scarlett and Ethan again. They were also trying on wedding dresses. When I walked in, the two were wrapped in a passionate embrace, kissing deeply, completely ignoring the embarrassed sales associates nearby. I cleared my throat loudly, interrupting them. Seeing me, Ethan wrapped his arm possessively around Scarlett's waist, a smug grin on his face. "Sorry about that, Sincere. Scarlett and I are together now. My family was forcing me into an arranged marriage, and Scarlett couldn't bear to lose me, so she stepped up. I'm sure you understand, right?" I couldn't be bothered to respond. I took Victoria's hand and started browsing for a dress I liked. Seeing our joined hands, Scarlett first froze, then broke free from Ethan's grasp. She stormed up to me, pointed a finger at Victoria's nose, and said sharply, "Sincere, who is this woman?" Did you hire an actress just to spite me? I slapped her hand away, my voice cold. Who she is has nothing to do with you, and congratulations on your wedding. But please, don't invite me. I won't be coming. Just then Victoria handed me a suit. I think this would suit you. Want to try it on? I was about to nod when Ethan started with his snide remarks. Scarlett, I really like that suit too. Oh well, I come from a humble background. I don't have the right to compete with someone like Sincere. Scarlett immediately defended him, her face full of adoration. Don't say that you are worthy, remember. You deserve all the best things in this world. If you want something, I'll get it for you. I couldn't help but shake my head and scoff. A truly perfect match. I ignored them and prepared to try on the suit. But Scarlett suddenly grabbed my arm. Sincere, didn't you hear Ethan say he likes this suit? Just give it to him. Your family is rich, you can just have another one custom made. Why should I give it to him? Who does he think he is? I shook her arm off, my voice turning to ice. Scarlett, don't you forget who gave you unconditional trust and support for the last 10 years to build you into who you are today. You can be careless with my feelings, but you don't get to trample all over them. I am a person, not your dog. Scarlett was stunned, as if she never expected me to speak to her like that. Beside her, Ethan looked a little guilty and quickly tugged on her sleeve. Let it go, Scarlett. Since he got it first, we shouldn't take it. I can just pick something else. But Scarlett paid him no mind, staring at me with eyes full of disappointment. Sincere, you are being completely unreasonable. You're the young master of the Smith family. You can have anything you want with a snap of your fingers. But Ethan, he only has me. I raised an eyebrow. Why are you telling me this? What does it have to do with me? Before she could continue, I turned away. I need to help my wife choose her wedding dress. I don't have time to waste on you two. Do as you please. 7. When Victoria walked out of the dressing room, my breath caught. She was like an ice queen, ethereal and set apart from the world. I stood beside her, looking at our reflection in the mirror, and for a moment I was lost in thought. Once upon a time, I had imagined this scene countless times. Now it was finally happening, but the woman beside me wasn't Scarlett, it was Victoria. Do I look good? Victoria asked softly, a hint of hope in her eyes. You're beautiful. I gently gave her a hug. Outside the door, Scarlett gave us a complicated look before turning and walking away. I didn't care in the slightest. Over the next few days, I noticed that Victoria was taking our wedding preparations very seriously. Before making any decision, she would always ask for my opinion. She even chose the wedding venue and arranged the details according to my preferences. Time flew by. On the day of the wedding, I stood in my tuxedo, looking at myself in the mirror, and felt a surprising wave of nervousness. Everything that had happened recently felt so surreal. It all happened so fast, like a dream. Coming back to reality still felt jarring. I watched as Victoria walked towards me, step by step. Perhaps it was the special atmosphere of the wedding, but her cool expression finally melted, replaced by a smile as warm as a spring breeze. It was like the sun breaking through ice, and it made my heart skip a beat. As she drew near, I reached out and took her small hand. This powerful, aloof CEO was now trembling slightly. Don't be afraid, I'm here. I squeezed her hand gently. She looked up and gave me a grateful smile. Then the ceremony began. I led Victoria to greet our parents. Victoria, formal and earnest, properly addressed them as Mom and Dad. My father was grinning from ear to ear and gave her a large, generous wedding gift. After the ceremony, amidst the cheerful teasing of our guests, I swept Victoria up into my arms and placed her in the wedding car. As the car started to move, my racing heart gradually calmed down. Watching the scenery retreat outside the window, my mind began to wander. Maybe it was out of spite. Maybe it was a coincidence. My wedding and Scarlett's were on the same day, at the same hotel. I just wanted to see how Scarlett would react. In another wedding car, both Scarlett and Ethan looked uneasy. Scarlett kept checking her phone, her brow furrowed, as if terrified of missing some important news. Ethan, on the other hand, was a picture of anxiety. When they arrived at the hotel, he immediately warned his groomsmen, "You guys have to keep a close watch. Make sure that Sincere guy doesn't show up and cause trouble." Scarlett pursed her lips, but didn't stop him. A flicker of anticipation rose in her heart, until one of the groomsmen spoke up, confused. "Sincere? You mean the guy getting married next door?" "I think his name is Sincere Smith. Their ceremony is almost over." Scarlett froze, her pupils shrinking. She rushed forward and grabbed the man's arm. Who Who is he marrying? I heard she's the president of the Davis Group, Victoria Davis. They booked the venue a long time ago. 8. Scarlett stood blankly. After a long time, she finally came to her senses, shaking her head and muttering, "Impossible, impossible. How could he marry someone else? He clearly said he couldn't live without me." She seemed to be trapped in some kind of obsession, completely ignoring Ethan as he tried to talk to her. It was as if she couldn't accept the reality of it. Meanwhile, at my wedding, I noticed a commotion at the entrance. Scarlett, looking like she had lost her mind, burst into the hall, pointed at me, and demanded furiously, "Sincere, how could you marry another woman? Didn't you say you would only love me for your entire life?" Her voice was filled with rage and a hint of desperation, her eyes overflowing with pain and disbelief. I looked at her. The panic I once would have felt completely gone, replaced by a profound calm. "Scarlett, don't you think this is ridiculous? You were planning your wedding to another man, and you expected me to just stand here and wait for you? Who do you think you are?" My tone was calm and distant. I realized that once the love was gone, I could say these words of disappointment and finality with such ease. Scarlett became hysterical. "I told you, I was just helping him out afterwards. I was going to come back to you. We could still have gotten married. Why couldn't you just wait for me?" I shook my head and laughed softly. "Scarlett, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You're not $1 million bill. Why should I be expected to love you forever? You should go. Don't make this uglier than it already is." With that, I waved for security. Scarlett tried to say something else, but the guards dragged her out. It was a pathetic sight. Scarlett stared at me, her eyes filled with resentment and despair. Looking at the figure I had once cherished, now so unhinged, I felt a mix of complicated emotions. Victoria came to my side and gently took my hand. She didn't say anything, nor did she ask any questions. She simply showed me, with her actions, that she was there for me. The wedding continued. In front of all our witnesses, I lifted Victoria's hand and placed the diamond ring, a symbol of our love, on her finger. I had it custom made for her. Seeing the tears of joy slide down her cheeks, I knew I had made the right choice this time. I held her hand and recited my vows, as if saying goodbye to my past self. I was no longer the Sincere who was bound by love, waiting endlessly behind Scarlett. I had a new choice, and I would work hard to write our future together. That failed relationship and all the pain of the past, I would treat it as a trial by fire on the road to growth, one that made me a better person. 9. After the wedding, Victoria moved into the house I had prepared. On our wedding night, Victoria lay beside me. Neither of us spoke. The silence was almost deafening. I could hear our breathing and heartbeats. After a long while, she spoke, her voice hesitant. "You're not going to touch me?" I sighed. "I don't know. We don't really have any feelings for each other. I don't want to force you." Victoria sat up, looked at me intently for a long moment, and then gently hugged me. "Thank you." I stared at the ceiling, my thoughts a tangled mess. The next morning I was awakened by an enticing aroma. Walking out of the bedroom, I saw Victoria busy in the kitchen. She was wearing casual clothes, and much of her cool demeanor had faded, replaced by a touch of warmth. Her movements were skilled, clearly. This wasn't her first time cooking. "You're awake?" Victoria smiled gently at me and handed me a bowl of freshly cooked porridge. "I didn't realize you were such a good cook." She smiled and shrugged. "I like making my own food." "Me too." We looked at each other and smiled. The atmosphere was warm and happy. On my way to the office after breakfast, I saw the news. Scarlett's wedding had ended in disaster. She had run off, leaving Ethan alone at the altar. He had been utterly humiliated in front of all the guests. The wedding was, of course, called off. In the following weeks, I would often see Scarlett standing a short distance behind me, her expression full of longing. At first, I ignored her, but she showed no signs of giving up. One day, as I was passing through a park, she was there again, sitting on a bench along my usual route. She looked haggard, and her eyes were filled with a complex mix of emotions. This time, I didn't ignore her. I walked straight up to her. "What exactly do you want?" Scarlett opened her mouth, but it took her a moment to speak. Finally, she sighed. "I just wanted to see if you were doing okay." Her voice was hoarse and trembling. A wave of disgust washed over me, and I couldn't help but scoff. "I'm doing great, no thanks to you. Better than I've been for the past 10 years at least." Her expression immediately turned sorrowful. I ignored her gaze and looked off into the distance. "Scarlett, it's only now that I understand that love can be a two-way street. And I, just as you said, was nothing more than your doormat. Scarlett shot her head up, her lips trembling, her eyes filled with regret. I really didn't mean it like that. I was wrong, Sincere. Can you come back to me? I can't live without you. She stood up, took a step forward, and tried to grab my hand. I took a step back, looking at her coldly. You were about to marry Ethan. Why are you clinging to me now? She immediately shook her head, her face contorted with pain. I thought I loved him, but really it was just a youthful obsession I couldn't let go of. When I found out you were marrying another woman, that's when I felt the pain. That's when I knew it was always you I loved. Her eyes were pleading. I shook my head, slowly and firmly. Scarlett, you don't love me. Just like you said, you can't stand the thought of losing me, that's all. Over the past 10 years, I can honestly say I never wronged you. But from the very beginning, you were just using me. You've achieved your goals now, so why keep this up? Can't we just part on good terms? With that, I walked away quickly. Behind me, Scarlett collapsed onto the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. 10. When I got home, Victoria had already prepared a delicious meal. I walked into the kitchen, wrapped my arms around her waist, and said softly, "Thank you for your hard work, wife." She tilted her head up and gave me a light kiss on the cheek. It was nothing. In that moment, I felt a happiness and peace I had never known before. I knew this was the love I had always dreamed of. True love. 6 months passed in the blink of an eye. My relationship with Victoria grew stronger and better. My father once asked me with hopeful eyes when he could expect a grandchild. I was just a little too shy to bring it up with Victoria. Until one night, after her shower, she broke from her usual conservative style and emerged in a sexy nightgown. One look was all it took for me to react. When she felt it, she looked surprised. "We've been together for half a year, and you haven't touched me. I was starting to think you had a problem." She wrapped her arms around me. I immediately understood her meaning and pressed her down onto the bed. "Let me show you whether your husband has a problem or not." Our relationship progressed naturally, but having a child wasn't something that could be rushed. Our days grew sweeter. But one day, while driving to work, I received a call from an unknown number. As soon as I answered, I heard Ethan's dark voice. "I have your wife. If you don't want anything to happen to her, get $30 million and come to the address I send you. Don't call the police or you'll be getting her back in a body bag." I slammed on the brakes. Before I could say a word, the line went dead. A moment later, a location pinged on my phone. It was an abandoned factory in the suburbs. Without a moment's hesitation, I drove there. On the 3rd floor of the factory, I saw Victoria tied up. Ethan stood behind her, his face grim. When he saw me, a crazed look appeared in his eyes. In the 6 months that had passed, he seemed to have aged considerably. He was gaunt, his hair was a mess, and his eyes were filled with a desperate madness. "Where's the money?" I didn't answer, asking instead, "Do you have any idea that what you're doing is illegal?" "Haha, illegal? Scarlett's company went bankrupt. She's useless now. I have nothing left to lose, so what do I have to be afraid of?" His voice grew low and menacing. This deranged man bore no resemblance to his former sunny self. "Give me the money, or get ready to bury your wife," seeing him press a knife to Victoria's throat. My heart pounded with anxiety. "Stay calm. I'll arrange the transfer right now." "Not so fast." Ethan dragged Victoria up to the factory roof. "You make the transfer, and don't try any funny business, otherwise I might just let go." I called my father, briefly explained the situation, and he immediately told me to keep Ethan calm. While he arranged the payment, he also called the police. I walked up the stairs, step by step, and stood opposite Ethan. The minutes ticked by. Soon Ethan pulled out his phone, a manic grin spreading across his face. "The money's here, let her go." I also received a message from my father. "Not so fast," Ethan sneered. He tossed a knife at my feet. "Stab yourself, then I'll let her go. Otherwise the police will be a problem for me." Victoria's eyes widened. She shook her head frantically, trying to tell me not to do it. Without any hesitation, I picked up the knife and plunged it into my abdomen. Blood gushed out. "Can you let her go now?" I managed to say, fighting through the pain, but Ethan just laughed coldly. "Sincere, you really are a romantic fool. I've never understood it. Why were you born with everything, while I had to suffer? Why do so many people love you, while I'm despised everywhere I go? Now that you're in my hands, you think you're getting out of here alive?" He advanced on me with a savage grin. But before he could take more than a few steps, a sharp crack echoed through the air. A spray of red blossomed on his chest, and his body went limp, collapsing to the ground. Before I lost consciousness, I heard the sound of sirens converging. 11. Ethan was dead, shot on sight. The knife wound hadn't hit anything vital. After some time recovering in the hospital, I made a full recovery, but Victoria had to be admitted to the hospital, not because she was injured, but because she was pregnant. After this ordeal, Victoria became completely devoted to me. She was constantly by my side, all traces of her former cool demeanor gone. I sat by her hospital bed, stroking her cheek, and a thought struck me. "You've had a crush on me for a long time, haven't you?" She blushed and scoffed playfully. You wish I smiled. I didn't mention the diary I had found at home, the one filled with a young girl's secret thoughts and feelings. I just pulled her gently into my arms. It turned out we had known each other long ago. We may have missed our chance back then, but in the end, we found our way to each other. My life now is wonderful. Of course, I still wish I could go back and meet her sooner.